Hi, guys. So, tonight I want to talk about something a little bit different. I want to talk about stealing. And no, I'm not talking about stealing tangible things like stealing someone's bicycle off of someone's yard or stealing a loaf of bread off of a supermarket shelf. That's pretty clear cut and dry, black and white. It's mostly bad. Well, there is a certain set of circumstances. Maybe you've taken a philosophy course where uh, if X, Y, A, B, C standards are met, maybe stealing the loaf of bread isn't bad. Maybe if you're in a revolution and you are down to your last calorie and your dying breath, maybe stealing bread isn't so bad. But for the most part, pretty clear cut and dry. What I'm talking about is, I don't know, I was trying to think of a phrase to sum it up. I think a good one maybe is soft stealing or non-tangible stealing, stealing intellectual property, stealing ideas. There's probably a phrase out there. I just didn't take the chance to do any research. I didn't want to steal intellectual property, which is, it's kind of ironic, I guess, me talking about the ethics of stealing. Maybe I am stealing someone else's idea. Let me know if I am. But I guess the point of this is this isn't black and white. But I keep on coming across some instances where I'm like, is this, not to be the moral police on everything, but stealing is stealing. And I see a lot of it out there where I'm like, shouldn't you be getting sued for this or something? Or shouldn't you be getting some sort of financial compensation for someone stealing your work? We're going to get into it here. I think just like anything else in life, it's a spectrum. It's a spectrum of ideas, so it's not clear as day. I came up with a couple ideas on the light end of the spectrum and then on the heavy end of the spectrum. Or maybe we can come to some conclusions on what are the ethics of this, or maybe hear from you guys. What do you guys think about this? So just to get started here, on the light end of the spectrum, I was trying to think of something that is a little sketchy, but isn't necessarily full-blown stealing. Reaction videos, which I see a ton of. Obviously, it's a cash cow for some people. Spoiler alert, I've done reaction videos. No one really watched them, so I guess it's fine. I don't think I'm going to do reaction videos in the future, though, because I've had an epiphany and maybe it's not good. Or maybe it isn't. But here's what I'm thinking. So I think there's some instances where, I've seen some instances where some content creators get the consent of the content creator to react to something. A TikTok video or another YouTube video where they're ranting and maybe they got a bunch of views on it and this person wants to react to that. I'm not talking about that. If there's consent involved, whatever. React away. But the people who are basically compiling TikTok videos or Instagram shorts or whatever and then downloading them and running them one by one by one by one by one, like the economy's collapsing, people are quitting their jobs, and it's just a bunch of people basically ranting into a microphone, a la me, about a societal, something in society that's impacting them. I doubt in most cases that the content creator that is compiling these and then making ad revenue off of this, maybe offering a little bit of analysis in between videos, like, wow, that's crazy. This reminds me of this. I guess if you're offering analysis, you're kind of making it your own, but at the end of the day, if you're just picking and choosing, I'll have that. I'll have this video over here. Oh, this one got 6 million views. I'll add this one. And you're not reaching out and getting consent, assuming in a lot of cases that you're not, because maybe I'm just bad because I just reacted to some videos that I saw. I didn't take the time to reach out. And if maybe that is the code of honor, but I just highly doubt that's going on. And if it's just everyday people that in their content, or it's just someone ranting into a microphone in their car, I just highly doubt that they would get some content creator reaches out to them. Hey, can I put you in my YouTube compilation? If I was me, I'd be like, no. maybe it's just different strokes for different folks, I guess. But that would it just seems odd to me, especially because it's not like they're getting any financial compensation. It's not like then after you see the video compilation that you're going to go and follow this person on and seek out the original content. I just don't think that's how it works. I could be wrong. And I think another element to this that makes it gray is if it's a public figure and you're reacting to them and that's just part of their job description. If it's a politician, if it's a thought leader, even someone who, gets paid to be in movies, star in something, or the president of the United States, it's a newsreel or whatever. I think that's cool. I mean, you could maybe even argue that it's not, but if you're making money off of it, maybe it's not. But because you can't just take some piece of news, there's probably some copyright to that as well. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, you could say also, well, the people that are putting it up on their TikTok accounts, they are doing it, they're making it public. So is there really any problem with it? I don't know. Which then kind of leads me to the next one that I'm just a little more uneasy about, would be dash cam videos and body cam videos. Now, I've been thinking about this quite a bit, and I think I'm starting to wonder if maybe it should just be in the department's possession and you can't redistribute it. You can't download it and make it your own and put a little funny voiceover to it. There's just something kind of off about it to me every time I see these compilation of body cam footage. It's just something kind of weird about it, but it is very popular nowadays. It's like everyone kind of has their own, like Cops has become mainstream, but I think even in Cops they had to get signatures for consent and stuff like that, and I doubt that, I know that's not happening nowadays. People are just saying it's public record, I can use this clip to make advertising money on my YouTube channel. Fair enough, you're not breaking the law by any means, but it just seems a bit sketchy to me. Especially because if you were to put yourself in the shoes of the criminal, it's already public record. You're already facing the music in the public court system, and just by having it out there in the world. And now you're on some YouTube compilation, the worst day of your life, the worst decision of your life, whatever. And I guess there's varying degrees to it. If you get caught for something really gnarly, maybe it's a matter of public safety to disseminate this information, but we used to have news sources for this. Now it's just content creators. If there's a serial offender of something out there in the world, I could see maybe the argument that it should be out there and put in a documentary format. But an OWI, petty theft, it's kind of really? Now I'm on a YouTube channel with 13 million subscribers, and I'm in this video, and I'm in multiple videos, because once you're in one, you're in another. And it's just, I don't know. That one maybe needs to be revisited in the future. Maybe there should be some sort of law where you can't redistribute it. I think I'd maybe be in favor of that. But I do know a lot of people who like watching these. And another thing that's happening is police departments and precincts are creating their own content. They're putting cameras on their own officers and then miking them up and then creating their own content and having advertising money to help fund their already funded department. I don't know if that's necessarily cool either, but it's the way of the world. I'm just here trying to understand it all. I think another aspect of this spectrum that is important to keep in mind as we move more to the egregious end of it, or at least in my opinion, is the amount of work that goes into it. The dash cam footage doesn't really take all that long to download it, or it doesn't really take that all. It's happening organically, so it's not like it really takes a bunch of effort from the individual. You're stealing it from public record. You're taking it from public record, I guess. So the amount of work involved is pretty negligible, actually. And then first on the spectrum of the TikTok videos of compilation of people ranting into a microphone or whatever, just taking content from the general public. I don't think it's necessary. It doesn't really take that much work to speak into a microphone, ranting about how you lost your job or whatever, or how your husband's cheating on you or whatever. I guess, yeah, before we do keep going, I guess another thing too is I think tone and intent is important too. And that definitely matters for the dash cam one, where I think it's kind of a scummy move to do this. If you're creating content that is maybe showing somebody in a positive light, like the compilation, I think that's better than just making fun of people blatantly or trashing them without them being able to defend themselves. I think that plays a role in this as well. All right, let's keep on going. because I did want to bring up the work aspect of it, because I think that does play a role in this, where the amount of work that goes into it, into the content or the intellectual idea that are potentially stealing, I think that's a factor in this, where the bottom end of it maybe is less nefarious, but then towards the nefarious end of the spectrum, which leads me to academic research. The amount of time and effort that goes into doing academic research, you don't know until you do it. Now, I have only done it as a student. I'm not an academic. I never got my PhD. I only got my master's. So I did a thesis where I had to do academic research. Wasn't all that rigorous. It was within the context of a class. So it was more like a learning experience. You're still expected to put something together. You had to present it. You had to gather research, gather data, synthesize information, read a bunch. God, the amount of hours I put into that, I was trying to think. Definitely hundreds. If you wanted, and that's if you wanted it to be halfway good. I could see legitimate research taking thousands of hours, because I know, especially in more scientifically rigorous fields where, STEM, I guess, if it's more healthcare related or numbers related or engineering related or physics related, or even just longitudinal studies of psychology or even political science, stuff like that, history, it can take a long time because you're trying to gather research through multiple years. So it wouldn't surprise me if some research does take thousands of hours to compile. So imagine you do all of this work. Okay. And then you publish it. You finally get it published. Congratulations. You are getting paid to do this by your institution. So there is that. You publish it. It goes into some journal article only to be read by other academics, some students who are then doing research. Now, that is actually how the system is supposed to work. You're supposed to do research for those purposes. Of course, they would love more people to read it. Of course, they'd love to be able to make money off of it. Some academic journals put their work behind a paywall. I'd be very surprised if anybody actually takes the time to fork over cash to get behind said paywall. I'm sure it's pretty rare. So I doubt that many academics are making supplemental income off of their research, their hard-earned work. So you get it done. Imagine then you start clicking on YouTube, or maybe you're on some podcast. I think it's more of a YouTube phenomenon, to be fair, where you're clicking on some YouTube video, and all of a sudden you're in the field of you're clicking around on subjects that are within your field of interest or expertise, and you suddenly come across a video with 900,000 likes, and it's basically somebody speaking into a microphone where they take your work, take the synthesis of your information, to even grab screen grabs off of it. I've seen that before too. And they take it and they regurgitate it into a microphone, into a 5-minute clip, an hour clip, however long it is, and then they make advertising money off of it. Again, speaking as someone who's done limited research, that would make me quite livid, to be frank. And I think it just comes down to the amount of hours that it would take. You're telling me that you get to make a bunch of money off of advertising, where you took an hour or two to read my paper, took a couple hours to speak into a microphone, and then edit it and put it up on YouTube. 5, 6, 7, 8 hours, whatever it is. And then you get tens of thousands of views and hundreds of advertising dollars, and I don't get a cent of it. Now we're getting into more nefarious territory, in my opinion. And I have seen academics who have their own YouTube channels. I've seen academics kind of synthesize their own their own research, and use other people's research and then make advertising money. Even that, I think, probably pisses some people off. I'm not quite sure. Hopefully there's some sort of transactional relationship going on. And then, of course, if you have somebody that does research come onto your YouTube channel and talk about the research and then maybe get a cut of the money or whatever, that's perfectly fine. But I'm talking about just taking the information, especially from people who are not even in academia, and then talking about it. Seems a bit dicey to me. I'm going to be honest, because people aren't going to watch that video and then go to the research itself. That's very rarely, 0.001% of people are going to do that. And then if it's behind a paywall, they're definitely not going to do it. Whereas if the video didn't exist, if someone was interested in the subject, they would have to go to the research themselves, or they'd have to go to the academic who maybe has a YouTube channel, maybe has a Twitter account or whatever, and engage with the content directly. And hopefully they would be compensated in some way for it. Now, having been almost in academia, this is kind of an unfair thing to expect academics to do. They're already teaching, and then they're already doing research. Now you're expecting them to create a YouTube channel and edit videos, be able to speak into a microphone. And quite frankly, a lot of people who are successful at doing these types of videos, perhaps taking some information and kind of making it their own, or at least regurgitating it into a microphone and making advertising money off of it, a lot of them rely on sex appeal. So, I mean, have you met academics? They're not necessarily the most appealing people to look at. No offense, but it's true. And you can't expect them to wear 6 different hats. I mean, that's 3 different hats right there. Whereas the YouTuber only has to wear 1 hat. They have to be able to speak well into a microphone, be able to and edit videos, and be a YouTuber. That's 1 hat. And then be able to read. That's not the same thing as doing academic research. I just hate to see academics do all of that work, talking hundreds, if not thousands of hours, and then not get at least a little bit more supplemental income off of it. At least not have the ability to come on to the show and speak about it themselves. It just seems kind of crummy to me. I don't know. Last but not least, on the crumminess scale of stealing, of soft stealing, as I like to call it, I think this one is the most nefarious, and that would be stealing, not to use that word, that would be taking someone's book specifically and creating a podcast about it where you read the book and then maybe you give a little bit of credit to it at the beginning of the episode or whatever. Like, hey, I got all this information from this book. It's by this author. Okay. But you read the book and then you basically regurgitate the entire story. Now, this a lot of times happens in nonfiction, because in fiction, you could read a book, do some analysis of it, do a critique. I'm not really talking about that, even though that can get a little sketchy too sometimes, to be honest. But critiquing is different than reading a nonfiction book, collecting facts, and then speaking the facts back into the microphone to a big audience. Now, you're basically, by doing that, disincentivizing the audience from ever actually picking up the book. And I came across this a couple weeks ago. I was listening to a podcast where this lady who wrote a book about, we'll say a nonfiction subject, so I don't want to say who it is. Basically, she's talking about how much work it was, how much, she suffered through it. It was traumatic because it was like a true crime type of situation, and it's not like she made a bunch of money off of it in the first place. She definitely went back and forth with the host of the podcast. Like, hey, it's not like we're getting rich off of this, or very rarely do you get rich off of this, especially nowadays, because nobody reads. They listen to podcasts. And she's basically even coming on to this guy's show who was doing it the right way. Like, hey, let's have you come on, talk about it. Hopefully some sort of financial transaction was taking place as well, and at least a promotion of the book from the author themselves. She was hesitant to give out specific facts about the case because she kept on saying, like, hey, I want people to actually go read the book. And it's not even, of course, financial compensation is one of the key aspects of it. But if you write a book, you want people to read the book. You don't want people to listen to a podcast about somebody who read the book and then maybe added some funny lines to it, or a little bit of anecdotes, or maybe a little bit of analysis. But at the end of the day, if you make it multiple hours talking into a microphone, you're basically just you're regurgitating, I keep saying that word, a book that you read and putting it out into the world. And then some of these podcasts are making tens of thousands of dollars per month, way more than the original writer probably ever made by doing the tens of hundreds of, maybe even thousands of hours of work that actually impacted their lives. That's pretty crummy. I don't want to do this at all. Like if I've been guilty of listening to podcasts in the past because it's a lot easier, right? Like, oh, someone read this book about this certain subject, but I didn't then take the time to go read the book. That would be crazy. You just, oh, I got all this information in my head. Now I'm going to go read the book that says the exact same thing. It's not how it works. But the system should work where if you want to learn about a subject, you go to the source person who took the time and the risk and has the skill to create the story, put the story to word. That's who the money should go to, not some podcaster regurgitating into a microphone. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm just envious of the podcaster who got ahead of me in the game, but I don't know. There's something kind of scummy about it. And I think it speaks to a broader trend of society. And we're getting close where our economic system tends to kind of eat itself from the inside. And this is exactly what I see with this. I mean, how much longer are people going to take time to create pieces of art, books no one reads, but it doesn't help where you're getting undercut by the podcasting circuit or a YouTube channel. Academics are being undercut from technology left, right, and center. I mean, artificial intelligence, obviously, is making their profession obsolete in the first place, but it sure doesn't help when they do research, and then some podcaster goes out and basically steals it and makes it their own and makes a bunch of ad money off of it. Why would you want to be an academic at that point? All right. And if you're an academic institution, why would you want to keep paying someone to do that if no one comes and actually goes to the paywall and maybe spends a couple bucks to be able to read journal articles? It's just not going to work. It's going to eat itself from the inside. And it's kind of like a parasitic economy that we've created by having people be able to create their own content about content. And I'm just as guilty of it. It is what it is. I just wanted to speak on it a little bit, see what you guys had to say. Maybe my spectrum's all wrong. Maybe I'm all wrong. Maybe I'm all right. I don't know. It's definitely not clear cut as stealing a bicycle or a loaf of bread, but I think it's something interesting to think about, and I definitely want to hold myself back, and I would like to hear, or maybe it's already happening, but I don't really see it. Like, I'd like to see what academics actually have to say about it, or if there is certain sorts of intellectual property and copyright law that is already in place and people are just avoiding it or trying to get away with it, because it exists in other fields. It exists in the music field. It exists in film and television and stuff like that. And the news, a lot of it is copyrighted. You can't, major broadcasting of sports, like there's a copyright thing, and there is a framework and a structure and institutions protecting these institutions from people just stealing their content. Like, I've created a video about Alex Garland's Civil War, and I used his trailer footage because I wanted it to be included in my analysis of the movie, and I have a copyright claim on it or whatever. Like, it's already built into YouTube. That's fine. I'd prefer if it wasn't there, of course, because it's a monetary thing, but I understand why it's there, and it should be there, even though, I'd like to make money off of it, but of course, no one's clicked on it anyways, but you know what I mean. The content creator would like to get away with that, but it should be there, right? Because it's there. They took the time to go out into a field and shoot a bunch of scenes into a camera and pay people to mic people up and sync it all together and make a storyline. Yeah, they should get credit for that. So why should it be any different for books or academic research or body cam footage or people's TikToks? I don't know. Where do you draw the line? That's what I'm asking. Anyways, that's my thoughts. Hopefully you found this interesting and illuminating, and I hope you click on some other videos of mine. I have a Substack as well. Go on and click over there. Twitter feed as well. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.